highs. This is one that's been marked with volatility over the last 3 years, almost like a roller coaster ride if you look at its chart. I'm not sure if we got Megan. We'll work on getting that set up. We'll come back to her in just a second here. Kevin, when you're looking at Nvidia here, I have a 5-year weekly chart pulled up on our platform here, and it kind of describes that almost roller coaster ride that I'm talking about. This stock was under $20 in 2015, believe it or not, Kevin, trading all the way from under $20 up to just under 300, falling back to 120 or so a couple times, and now all the way up above 350. It's been an absolutely extraordinary run for the chip maker.
Yeah, this name is really in so many different things, but the one thing we have to all agree on is this stock moves. I mean, look at the dollar moves that this stock has had. There's very few stocks that move more than this. And you're right. You don't have to go back very far to look at this stock at some pretty low levels. And they've had some real volatility in the, some pretty incredible moves in terms of Nvidia. The fact that it got over to 310, it got all the way down below $200 and now back up, above 360, now trading 354 in earnings. I mean, this thing moves, as you know. They seem to have their corporate tentacles, though, in just about everything having to do with, driverless cars and gaming. I mean, they are all about gaming. So this looks like a company with a bright future, but it can also be extremely volatile in terms of movement, Alex.
Yeah, and Megan, that's basically what we've been talking here as we got you back here. This is one that's been a roller coaster ride over the last few years, and I'm really interested to get your guys' insight from LikeFolio in terms of how the data is looking in the time where more people are spending more time, whether it's playing video games or just on electronics in general, how that's impacting Nvidia and its consumer purchase intent from a LikeFolio standpoint.
So we love to talk about Nvidia. This is one that we've been watching for a couple of months. And what we see whenever we listen to consumers talking about, engaging with Nvidia, whether they're, using a device that's being powered by one of their graphics processing units. So that's where we see a lot of strength. Overall consumer demand for all of Nvidia's products are, it's approaching all-time highs, which honestly, this is right in line with the market. The market already knows this. One area of strength in particular is their GeForce line. So this is what's powering all of those gaming devices. And I know that, you talked with Andy yesterday about just the surge in gaming, all these new gamers coming to the table that, are upgrading their PCs. PC gaming in general is up about 58% year over year. Another key area of strength, the Nintendo Switch is something that we're watching just fly off the shelves, and Nvidia powers that device as well. So this is something that, consumers have a really high level of loyalty. They like how these graphics cards perform. And so we see consumer demand at all-time highs.
Yeah, Megan, I don't imagine a scenario where Nvidia can't benefit and won't benefit from the new increased demand overall for video games. That said, with the numbers, remember, we don't trade the company and we don't take long-term positions. We're trading this company, and the run that it's had, much like Take-Two that we just covered yesterday, it's about too far, too fast. And the fact that how is this stock going to react to the earnings that it's about to release, right? So, because the numbers in Take-Two were astronomical and the stock is down today. So that's what we really have to prepare for as traders. But your data, I see the GeForce purchase intent, and not only the demand, but you've got, we like to point out when LikeFolio data goes the opposite direction of the stock, but you've got both your data and the stock going in the same direction here, correct?
Yeah, this is not a divergence play. You know, a lot of times we like to see whenever we have kind of an edge on the market, we're catching on to something that the market doesn't know about yet, and maybe there's this divergence play that's, you know, developing. But this is one of those cases where our consumer demand is at all-time high. You know, the growth and even the sentiment growth is really impressive, but the market is almost even more impressive the way that the stock has just run lately. And so that's something definitely to keep in mind going into earnings. From a long-term perspective, we really like to see that sentiment increase alongside that demand increase. I think that you hit on a lot of things, even with the driverless cars, with, you know, Nvidia's involvement in data centers as well, that we don't have as much insight into, and 5G technology coming into play. So I think that, you know, this is a company that has potential for a really bright future, but from an earnings perspective, definitely the market kind of already has an idea of how well they're going to perform, or you could say really high expectations.
Yeah.
So, Megan, let me ask you a question that's maybe a little bit more general in terms of kind of trend shifts and where you guys are kind of seeing these trends go. From what you're gauging by all of these different social media posts that you guys are analyzing to come up with this data, do you get the feeling that a lot of these, you know, new people coming to video games or whatever it may be that's kind of related to electronics, that this is a temporary, you know, kind of fill the void while I don't do my normal activities? Or do you see this being an acceleration of some general trend shifts as more and more people are just going to move to these sources of entertainment going forward and continue to use them?
You know, that's definitely something that we're going to have to watch. I think we are experiencing extreme levels of usage right now of consumers playing these just because the circumstances have changed a bit. However, there are new gamers being brought to the table. I think that the way that the world works in terms of how much data we're processing in general, too, even outside of gaming, you know, I know my laptop, you know, we process a lot of data, and I have my laptop powered by Nvidia, and it's the best one. You know, when I asked, I was like, I want what's going to allow me to perform the best. This is kind of what we this is what we selected. So I think that it's positive that Nvidia is, you know, producing these products that perform well, that continue to support this consumer demand. And, you know, we're definitely watching for how they transition into the future, how they can become a leader in 5G, and how they can become a leader in even these driverless cars. So I think that that's something we'll have to keep an eye on. But right now, they're not showing any signs of weakness, and they're definitely outperforming peers.
Kevin, I think it's a really, really interesting dynamic that I think is often maybe forgotten or potentially missed in a company like Nvidia. Is it is so strongly associated maybe with computer gaming and other high performance needs, but those other high performance needs are growing substantially here with more and more people working remotely, working from home, needing to process more and more information in a quicker manner, you know, in a mobile environment. That's all things that potentially benefit companies like Nvidia and its peers that are making the technology and the hardware that's necessary to do that. And I think that, you know, just because it's a gaming, you know, chip doesn't mean that it has to be used for games. It can be used for data analytics and other reasons too.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, it's really hard to find something negative to say about NVIDIA right now, right? They seem to have their finger on everything that's going right in this economy. But here's something that you can cause some pause. 86.4% of their net worth is from GPUs, right? That's what the company profile on the Thinkorswim platform talks about. So their eggs are in one basket. That being said, they have really good eggs, and they're really the innovator in this field. So they've got a lot going on, but GPUs are really what run this company and drive their earnings. So all their eggs are in that basket, at least for right now. The other segments are quite small, but they're clearly the leader in GPUs. So it's hard. Like I said, I'm trying desperately to find something negative to say. I can't. I'm having difficulties, guys.
Megan, one more question kind of building on that then. You talked about the sentiment shift. It's a little bit more positive and growing as the purchase intent mentions is growing as well. is there a potential that maybe they're borrowing demand from future quarters and people are just moving up those purchases out of necessity? And maybe the replacement cycle, if they're so happy with their chips, why are they going to need to replace them as short term? So I guess my possible negative would be that this is all just growth that they maybe would have seen in the following quarters that they're experiencing now instead.
I mean, I think that that's really valid. I think that one thing that we're looking at, we always listen for these product announcements that come out so we can make sure that we're tracking all of the different things that they're putting out for consumers. And what they keep doing is just improving this technology. And so one area that we're seeing extreme strength in is the RTX processing chip. And so I think this is being slated to be released later this year. I think that some people say this will make 4K gaming the new norm. I'm not even really sure what 4K gaming is. However, I know a lot of people are really excited about it. And I know that Nvidia is enabling this to happen. And so I think that because they continue to develop, they continue to improve technology, they continue to push the envelope. I mean, they are the leader. That you have this loyal consumer base that wants to partake and get the next best thing. And it's almost like the new iPhone. You always want the new iPhone, even though your other one probably works fine. So I think that that's definitely another kind of positive indicator for Nvidia.